In this video, I will attempt to persuade you that getting lean is the best way to look great at the intermediate level. Here's why. If you've been training for a few years, your physique probably looks similar to mine in this video. Intermediate level of muscle development and around 20% body fat. That's already better than 90% of the general population, so congrats on that. But you probably want more. The problem with this physique is that you're not muscular enough to look big, and you're not lean enough to have muscle definition either. You're somewhere in between, what I call no man's land. And that's not a particularly impressive look. I know that if I were to post this on Instagram, the trolls would roast me with a classic comment, "Do you even lift?" And their comments would sting because I'd have to admit I really didn't look like I trained as much as I did. Well, if you find yourself in this situation, there are two paths you can take to look like you lift. Path number one, bulk up. Get to an advanced level of muscle development while trying to stay at around 20% body fat. Path number two, get lean. Improve muscle definition by losing some fat and maintaining or slightly increasing your muscle mass. Either choice is fine. It all comes down to your preferences and goals. However, I believe that getting lean is the better choice for the majority of intermediate lifters. In fact, I'd even go so far as saying that getting to a lower body fat percentage is the only way most regular gym goers can ever look impressive. There are two reasons for this. First, most lifters cannot or are unwilling to put in the work required to build and maintain muscle beyond the intermediate level. And second, low body fat can make you look amazing even at an intermediate level of muscle development. Let me expand on both of these points. This will help you determine if getting lean is the right choice for you. In my conversations with audience members and gym goers over the years, I found that most lifters plan to bulk until they reach advanced muscle development and only then go into a fat loss phase. The thinking goes, I'll build lots of muscle and only then I'll reveal it. This is a solid strategy in theory, but in practice it often fails because many guys build muscle slowly at the intermediate level and experience frequent setbacks, such as micro injuries that reset their progress. So what ends up happening is that they remain permanent residents of no man's land. Not quite big, not quite lean. Here's what I mean. Getting to the intermediate level is pretty easy for most people. It was probably easy for you too. All you had to do was go to the gym a few times a week and lift weights with a focus on progression. It didn't really matter that you made some mistakes, missed some workouts and didn't track nutrition too closely. The gains kept coming anyway. But now that you've built your first 5 to 8 kilograms of muscle or 10 to 18 pounds and maxed out your noob gains, making further progress is more difficult. You have to follow a much more structured training and nutrition plan to be able to progress to the next level. You have to not miss workouts, train harder, possibly with higher frequency and more volume, follow a strict progression scheme, experiment with different exercises and training splits, master exercise technique, manage injuries and joint pain, track calories and protein, and ensure proper sleep and recovery. This is the price you have to pay to build lots of muscle naturally when you're not very gifted genetically. You have to be almost as dedicated as a professional athlete. Something else that matters a lot is genetics. We like to believe that we live in a fair universe, where results are equal to the work and effort we invest into something. This is an indispensable myth to our meritocratic modern societies. But in reality, people are not born equal, and their results are heavily influenced by luck. You can clearly see this in training studies. When you look at the results of any training study, you see that there is a lot of variation in how quickly and how much muscle people build in response to the same training program and the same nutrition plan. For example, this graph shows the results of several studies by Atianen and colleagues that put 287 individuals on the same training program for 22 weeks. Each line shows the muscle size change of one individual at the end of the study, so after about 6 months of training. The longer the line stretches upwards, the more muscle that individual gained. You can see that the average increase in quad size for the whole group of trainees was 4.8%, but there were enormous differences between individuals. The majority of study participants saw modest growth, between 2 and 10%. About 1/3 of participants were low responders, meaning they showed only minor gains or no gains at all in muscle size. Some people even appeared to lose some muscle, though this could partially be due to measurement errors. And a few people were high responders. The top 35 lifters gained at least 3 times more muscle than the group average. The most gifted individual grew 6 times more than average, again assuming no measurement errors were involved. You see a similar pattern in pretty much any other training study. These graphs show 4 random examples. The least responsive 15% of test subjects barely make any gains, about 70% of people make low to medium improvements, and the most gifted 15% gain about 3 times more muscle and strength than the group average. Sometimes the difference between the best and the worst responding individual is 40-fold. So for example, if the most responsive individual gains 2 kilograms of muscle in a few months of training, the least responsive individual might gain only 50 grams of muscle. Almost nothing. These differences are mostly explained by genetics. It's not entirely understood which mechanisms are involved, but what is known so far is that those who make better gains seem to have a higher number of nuclei and satellite cells per muscle fiber, produce more ribosomes following training, have more androgen receptors, and express different levels of certain microRNA molecules that boost protein synthesis. High responders essentially have more of the cellular machinery that constructs new muscle tissue, and this allows them to recover faster and to build a larger amount of muscle following each workout. Now, does this mean the average guy at the gym can't ever build lots of muscle? Does this mean that if you're this guy, there's no chance you will ever get big? No, you can probably still get big. You just have to put in way more time, effort, and attention into training and nutrition to get the same results as a more gifted individual. But if it's possible for the average lifter to get huge, what's the problem then? Why is it that the majority of regular gym goers are in no man's land? Well, the reality is that most lifters cannot or are unwilling to put in this much time and effort into training and nutrition. This is not a criticism, I get it. There's a limit to how much time and effort some lifters are willing to dedicate to fitness before it disrupts other areas of their lives to an unacceptable degree. These two categories of lifters stay at an intermediate level of muscle development for long periods of time, maybe their whole lifting career. But interestingly, there's a third category of lifetime intermediates, and this one is not talked about nearly enough. These are the lifters that do put in the necessary work, but fail to maintain advanced status due to frequent setbacks. Maybe you're one of these lifters yourself. I know I am. You have a stretch of several months where you train really hard, you follow the program, you track your lifts, you don't miss workouts, you eat well, sleep well, everything is going great, and you make great gains in muscle and strength. You even become advanced in some lifts and muscle groups. But then you experience a setback that erases pretty much all the progress you've made. Maybe you get shoulder pain, or knee pain, or a lower back injury, or you get sick, or you experience a disruptive life event like extended travel, job change, tight deadline at work, a breakup, and so on. Something just happens right when you're in peak condition. This setback prevents you from training or eating properly for a while, and that's enough to erase the progress you've made over a period of several months, because muscle loss happens much faster than growth. The result is that even if you're a smart and dedicated lifter, you just go up and down through the intermediate stage, never quite being able to maintain advanced muscle development for more than a few weeks or months. So, if any of this sounds like you, I propose you try something different this year. I propose that you take the next 3 to 6 months to get lean. Think about it. If you're not going to be big anytime soon, why not be lean instead? This will make you look amazing with the muscle mass you already have, and also set you up for a long bulk afterwards to build more size. When you're lean, even though you will be smaller than you are now, with the shirt off, you will look bigger. And best of all, you will look like you lift. Well, with the shirt off at least, because in clothes, not so much. Whenever movies want to sell you the idea that the main character is strong and can beat up the bad guys, they get the actor very lean, generally below 12% body fat. Why? Because muscle definition creates the illusion of size. An actor at 10% body fat appears to have more muscle than at 20% body fat, even though in reality he is smaller overall. Add in a muscle pump and the right lighting, and the difference is like night and day. Here are a few examples. All the actors in these pictures have intermediate muscle development. They may have less muscle mass than you do right now, but the reason they look great is because they're very lean. If you get lean as well, you'll likely look similar to one of these 9 actors, depending on how much muscle mass you have. If your muscle development is currently at a lower intermediate level, you'll probably look like these actors. If you're at an upper intermediate level, you'll likely resemble these guys. And for those nearly at an advanced level, you'll probably look similar to these actors. For example, here's how I looked when I cut down from around 20% body fat to 13% and then 10%. Notice how when I'm leaner, I appear to have more muscle mass. That's not the case. I was actually smaller, but the increased definition creates the illusion of more size. You can achieve a similar transformation. From my experience, most intermediate lifters are happiest in the 11 to 13% body fat range. That seems to be the perfect balance between size, visible abs, muscle definition, strength, and general well-being. But here's the thing. Most of us tend to severely underestimate our starting body fat percentage. Based on my clients, I've noticed that intermediate lifters typically reach around 12% body fat when their body weight in kilograms is equal to their height in centimeters minus 105 to 110. So for example, if you have a height of 180 centimeters, I would expect you to reach approximately 12% body fat when you get down to between 70 and 75 kilograms. Maybe you're shocked to hear this. You may be thinking, there's no way I have so much fat on my body. I hope you're right, but based on the experience of my clients, I'm telling you that this formula works pretty well. Obviously, the more muscle mass you have, the higher your body weight will be at a low body fat percentage. And the opposite is true as well. If your muscle development is in the lower half of the intermediate category, it's more likely that your body weight when you get lean will be closer to your height in centimeters minus 110. If, on the other hand, your muscle development is on the upper half of the intermediate category, it's more likely that your body weight when you get lean will be closer to your height in centimeters minus 105. The key is to embrace the fact that your body weight may need to decrease more than you first anticipated. It's crucial that you don't get emotionally attached to not falling below a certain body weight. Otherwise, you won't allow yourself to get lean. So that's how you look great at the intermediate level, by lowering your body fat percentage. You need to stay in a small daily caloric deficit for as long as it takes to get the fat off while maintaining your muscle mass and strength in the gym. And if you're looking for a practical guide that shows you exactly how to do that, I recommend joining my Shred Smart program. I've linked a free sample for you in the description. Check it out. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.